Hello to all of you FGO connoisseurs. I am Dedazzy and today we will be looking at my top 5 AOE archers in FGO. Before we start, firstly, subscribe. Subscribe now. Secondly, this is my opinion so take it with a grain of salt since the archer class is just stacked. Anyways, let's start. Coming up at number 5, and I am aware of what I am doing. It's the king of heroes himself, AOE, Gilgamesh. Don't kill me please. This guy is still top tier to this day, although his skills are a bit outdated, hence why he's that high on the list. He has high attack and NP gain because of the stupid number of hits in his cards. His first skill is just a charisma. Nowadays charisma will at least have one another effect. Needs a buff. His second skill is golden rule. It does help a bit with spamming his NP, but, again, it's just very weak to be the only effect on the skill. Third skill is an NP battery and a star absorb on a high uptime. This skill is still solid to this day, and helps him be much more consistent. That's good and all, but his NP, and without this he won't be even on the list. It gives him a big NP damage up and deals extra damage to all servants except these. This NP is easily his bread and butter and it's what enables him to deal single target damage despite being an AOE servant. He just needs any buff to his first two skills and he'll be busted. Coming up at number 4, it's the inferior Rin face, Ishtar, useless goddess herself. Some of you might call me crazy for having her over Gil, but I genuinely prefer using her most of the time over him. She has similar stats compared to Gilgamesh, although a bit lower. Still solid though. Her first skill is a better charisma, since it also gives a crit buff to all allies. Wish the crit buff was a bit stronger. Her second skill is the casual 50% battery. It also has an 80% chance to give her invincibility and 80% chance to give her ignore invincibility for one turn. The NP battery is great, but that RNG with the invincibility makes Ishtar quite defenseless. Not a bad skill by any means though. Her third skill, which I find quite cool, it's a delayed attack mana burst on a stupidly low cooldown. This means that she basically has a mana burst on a high uptime. With the right timing, this skill can enable some very high damage potential. Can be a bit awkward to use though. Her passives are amazing. Very high debuff resistance, which is always good to have. Then there is her NP. It gives her a buster up and deals very good damage, then gives a decent star bomb. A basic but very solid NP. The reason I have her over Gil is because farming is easier with her, especially with the buster meta thanks to the big battery. Coming at number 3, we have everyone's favorite Ona-chan, Jeanne d'Arc Archer. Not only does she has one of the best second ascensions in the game, and one of my least favorite third ascensions, she is also an arts DPS / looper extraordinaire. Despite her stats being nothing special, her first skill gives her an arts up on a high uptime and a 2-hit invincibility for 3 turns. This skill is amazing. It helps with damage, looping and makes her quite tanky as well. Second skill is the cursed 40% battery, plus an NP damage up on a decent uptime. She also gets a decent crit buff when she's on a waterside battlefield. The 40% is still weird and the crit buff won't come in hand that often, but still a very good skill that helps a lot with looping. Third skill is a charisma that further buff good allies. Unfortunately she isn't considered good, maybe because she brainwashes other servants now. Cool passive when on a waterside battlefield. She also has anti-berserker append skills, so that's a bonus. Then there is her NP. It deals damage and gives her stars per turn for 3 turns. And despite only having one effect, that effect is amazing. Plus she can spam this NP so easily, especially with Castoria being a thing now. A very solid servant overall. Coming up at number 2, we have Nikola Tesla, Mr. AC, the Pigeon Whisperer. You get the gist. This guy is another amazing AOE buster archer. He was quite good, but then he got some buffs that makes him kinda broken. His stats are not as good as Gil or Ishtar, but his skills are just insane now. His first skill, which got buffed twice, it's now a golden rule and debuff success up for self, plus a NP gain and buff success rate up for allies on a high uptime. This skill is insane. Not only does it make his second skill more consistent, it also makes him best friends with a lot of RNG skill based servants. Second skill, which also got buffed, and boy, it's actually stupid now. It gives a guts and attack up on a high uptime. It also has an 80% chance to give an NP damage up for 3 turns and an 80% chance to increase his defense for 3 turns. Yes, it's all coming together. Combining his first skill means that all the buffs on this skill is guaranteed, and since both of these skills have a 5-turn cooldown, it means that all these buffs will be active most of the time. This is absolutely insane. Third skill is a 50% battery with a star bomb and ignore invincibility on a decent uptime. A very solid skill to this day. His NP, which got buffed, it now has chance to stun all enemies for 1 turn and deals extra damage to earth and sky enemy servants. The stun chance used to be quite low, but thanks to his first skill, it now is a lot more consistent. The NP also deals some damage to himself, but it honestly can be ignored. This NP is amazing. Earth and Sky servants aren't that rare to come by at all. He would honestly be number 1. But there is one servant that deserves this spot in my opinion. Before we get into that, here are some honorable mentions. The most obvious one is Arash. He would honestly be number 1 for farming. No question asked. It's just that he's only good at that. And I feel like the list will be boring since I'll just be stating the obvious. Secondly, we have Say. She has an amazing skill set. I am just not the biggest fan of her NP having so many niches and not being that consistent. Thirdly, we have Zenobia. The reason she isn't here is because I haven't used her that much, but I think she's almost the same tier as Archer Jean. Plus, that final ascension art is just EX. Anyways, coming up at number 1, and it's to no one's surprise, it's Arjuna. This guy is absolutely insane.
I am the bone of my soul.
Yes, it's Ymir, Mr. Swords. I don't care what anyone says. This guy came such a long way and he's now absolutely insane. He can be used to farm, or can be used as the main DPS. He can be used anywhere and will do a good job. It makes me so happy since I've been using him since day 1. Even when he wasn't good at all, his stats are quite average, but his skills and NP is what makes him insane. First skill is a normal Mind's Eye True, a solid defensive skill, nothing special. His second skill, which got buffed, and boy was it a buff. It's now a 100% crit damage and star gen on a decent uptime. 100% crit damage is nothing to laugh at, and the star gen buff enables him to create stars quite easily with his NP and cards despite being arts focused. His third skill, which got buffed twice, it's now Geronimo EX. Basically a rainbow mana burst, that also allows him to change the NP card type to art. The reason this is a big deal is because his NP has 10 hits. Yes, 10. Basically it's almost guaranteed that he will loop this NP after using it. It's actually stupid. And thanks to his second skill he can even generate a lot of stars, which he can use to do big boy crit damage. Boring passives. And then the NP. It deals damage that ignores defense and lowers the enemy's attack. Ignored defense is always good to have, but the highlight of this NP is the very high hit count that makes him work so well. He also gets extra points for being an unlimited or story locked 4-star who has been around since day 1. Do you agree with my list? Let's discuss it down in the comment section. Be sure to check out my top 5 single target archers, and my top 5 series. That's it for this video. Now like and subscribe to this shitty channel. Bye.